to get going. Gotta catch those runners taking off like a Boeing. If the volume spikes, then it's time to trade. Mighty 90 setting up, it's time to get paid. Navigation trading on the mic, time to get focused. We don't need any indicator, hocus pocus. It's all about the price, just watch it move. Manage your risks so you don't lose. First hour of trading is all we need. Focus on the patience and forget about greed.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's day trading live stream, Monday, July 6th. Hope everybody had a good, safe, fun 4th of July. We are back at it. S&P futures are up 27, NASDAQ up 299. The Russell is flat, and the Dow is down 99 points. Gold up almost 1%, silver up almost 2%. Notes and bonds pretty flat, 10-year yield down 0.36%. Oil pretty flat. Natural gas is slightly green. Soybeans up 3%. Wheat up 1.75%. Corn up 3%. So some big moves in the grains this morning. Euro and the pound pretty flat. Bitcoin pretty flat. VIX up 4.3%, getting our Monday volatility bump, even with the S&P up. VIX is currently at 16.49. Biggest individual stock movers. Looks like SNDK is up 4.5%. AMD's up 3.5%. MU's up 3%. Intel up 3%. A lot of chip stocks higher. SpaceX up 2%. Meta is green. Tesla is a little bit green. Biggest red, MSTR, is down 4.5%. 5%. 5.5%. Coinbase down 2%, so crypto is a little bit red. PLTR a little bit red. Netflix, Microsoft a little bit red. Opening bell here in a little over a minute. Looks like the expected range in SPX a little over $34 today. So I have a 3-4 or the July 9-10 expiration on from last week. So I'm not going to enter a new 3-4 because this one's going to be pretty centered. I may consider adding another 3-4 at some point throughout the day if we get a big move, but ideally would get this one transformed. Then we get a move. Then possibly enter another one a little bit later this morning. I will do a 1 DTE iron Condor near the open. And then we will see what kind of action we get from the stocks. As far as kind of my overall outlook on the markets this morning, I mean, pretty tight kind of pre-market range. So I would want to see us kind of confirm breakout either up or down before getting too excited about a bias. But right at the top of the range in the S&P, right at the bottom of that pre-market range in the NASDAQ. So we'll see what happens here. If price can stay a little bit stable, not rip too hard to the upside, looks like I could get that double calendar transformed here this morning, possibly. S&P breaking above its pre-market high. NASDAQ still inside it. Russell right at the upper edge. One DTE should fire here shortly. There is my one DTE. Let me get that posted. I am going to go ahead and put in an order, a working order on my transformer, on my DCTM, in case it hits here while we're day trading. Let's see, I would need 1530 to remove risk. I'll go ahead and put that order at 1550. All right, so Russell acting the strongest here, breaking out of its pre-market range. S&P kind of chopping right above it, and NASDAQ lagging a little bit, but climbing. Apple just went green, Tesla coming down, Nvidia is red. AVGO is pushing above its pre-market high. AMD also. So it looks like AMD and AVGO kind of showing the most relative strength here so far. Tesla dipping into the red. Apple just went green. Big banks are acting strong. Goldman's up 2.75%. Strongest of the three. Cryptos acting weak. Watson just relishing in the bloodbath of MSTR. All right, so AVGO rejecting its pre-market high a little bit. AMD coming back down to its pre-market high. Mag 7 acting a little weaker here, except for Apple. Indices rejecting a little bit. S&P back into its pre-market range. NASDAQ about to break below its pre-market low. Microsoft breaking below its previous day low. Amazon in the red now. SpaceX rejecting. I don't know if you guys have this tendency, but I have to be aware of the fact that I have a tendency to want to really jump in and over trade a little bit after a long weekend, after been away for a while. I mean, I don't feel that necessarily consciously today, but I think sometimes just after a long weekend, I have a tendency to want to force trades and get back into it because I'm a trader. I need to trade, right? I've been on a break. I need to trade. You know, that kind of thing. So I definitely have to be aware of that in myself and make sure I'm not doing anything of the such. Yes, much better, Joey. Russell ticked a new high. It's staying a little bit stronger. So financials are strong. Apple's still pushing. Apple looks like it's about wants to make a run up to all-time highs here in the not too distant future. All-time high 317. It's currently at 309. Quite a run the last 4 or 5 sessions. All right, so AMD held and it's pushing. Kind of came back and retested that pre-market high, and now it's pushing above previous day high. AVGO also right at its pre-market high again. PLTR is pretty strong price action. Opened below yesterday's low, but now it's above pre-market high. MU just still kind of chopping inside of pre-market range. Netflix rejecting a little bit.
Order filled. Order filled.
Tezzy, pretty decent little bounce back in the green. Apple, a little bit of a pullback. It's kind of bouncing between yesterday, previous day close and previous day high. Tesla, kind of quite a little flush and reversal. I'm gonna load up some Tesla calls just to have them on my watch list. I would do the 0-day. Let's go with the 402.5 is what I would trade. S&P and NASDAQ starting to pop back up. NASDAQ finally breaking above its pre-market high now. Russell staying the strongest. All right, Tesla, big rebound, approaching pre-market high now. AMD still staying strong. AVGO still chopping above its pre-market high. PLTR's pumping. Yeah, S&P and NASDAQ definitely not a strong push through pre-market high. Keeps on testing the waters, but dipping back in. Dipping back in the pre-market range. SpaceX starting to bounce. A little recovery. Google making new lows. Meta staying weak. All right, NASDAQ popping up a little bit. PLTR and AMD kind of straight up from the open. Tesla on the move again.
Order filled. Order partially filled. Order filled.
SMH starting to show. I'm gonna load some 0 DTE calls in AVGO, the 382.5s, in case we start to reclaim that pre-market high. SNDK starting to pop up. AMD staying strong. Intel, MU, nice bounce. Netflix week. Apple keeps rejecting that previous day high. And there goes S&P, NASDAQ back into pre-market range.
Order filled.
Tesla coming back down to retest that pre-market high. AMD just doing its own thing this morning. Watching AVGO here. I'll be taking the 382 half calls in AVGO if I go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take AVGO here. Filled at 273. Take some off at 330, which would be just below highs of day. If it can run up a little bit more. Tesla still holding above that pre-market high. Q's holding above pre-market high, S&P not. Tesla trying to creep back up to highs of day. AVGO kind of sputtering. Didn't get that momentum back up to highs like I was hoping, but a little crypto bounce. MSTR back above previous day low. Hoods in the green. PLTR rejected previous day high. Qs and S&P back in pre-market range. Just can't seem to get anything going to the upside. Now we got some of the chips starting to reject. MU, SMH kind of rolling over. SNDK, AMD staying strong. And ABGO's staying pretty strong here. Tesla staying strong. Anybody take Tesla off pre-market high? Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Come on, AV Go-Go. Stay strong, little buddy. Stay strong. Well, S&P, NASDAQ popping back up. Tesla new high. Apple just can't get anything going through previous day high. Get a little flag break a bit above that pre-market high in AVGO. AMD ticked a new high. Tesla's pushing. A lot of the Mag 7 still staying pretty weak here. IWM kind of rolling over. S&P and NASDAQ back in the pre-market range. PLTR still rejecting that previous day high. Went straight up to it, ticked it, and now coming down. Tesla, a little bit of a pullback. AMD is up 9.5% now. NVIDIA broke out of its previous pre-market range, looks like.
Order filled. Order filled.
Going to need to cut AVGO if I don't see a bounce here. Some of the chips are starting to act strong. SMH back up to highs of day. NVIDIA holding up well. AMD, MU's bouncing. AVGO had some nice relative strength to start, but it's just not given any additional Momo to the upside. Apple still chopping above previous day high. Nvidia's now pumping. Come on, bring AVGO up with you. AVGO needs some help. Intel just ticked a new high. Or close to it. PLTR trying to rebound a little bit. Coin and MSTR paused, kind of rejected, trying to go green. Amazon back in the green. Tesla still near highs. Q's near highs. MU starting to bounce. Getting some chip strength. Need to see something here, AVGO. Meta dipped into the red, but getting a decent little bounce. NASDAQ ticking new highs. SPY still pretty choppy. Tesla still staying strong. AVGO is just eating my 0 DTE theta for lunch, for breakfast. Apple ticked a new high. Little rebound in Google. AVGO just can't do much here. Meanwhile, AMD and MU and SMH and Intel, all pretty strong. Q's printing new highs. Tesla new highs. Apple new highs. AMD new high. PLTR still rejecting. S&P super choppy still so far. Super choppy. IWM looked strong there for the first 20 minutes. Now it's back down. NASDAQ kind of looking the strongest.
Order
Some of
partially
these
filled.
chips gaining some strength.
Order filled.
And Tesla and
Order
Apple.
cancelled.
Apple's finally pushing. Hondo? Catching a piece? You had to sit through a lot, but it's moving now. Amazon and Google tried to go green. A little pullback. MU tried to push through pre-market highs, kind of pausing, pulling back. Be back in just a minute. If AVGO does finally break here, I'll consider adding a few more, but if not, I'm going to have to cut. MU, pretty decent little pullback there. Tesla still at highs. Apple still pushing. AMD still at highs. AVGO's still on vacation mode. Looked like he was ready to play early. Then decided to go back to bed. Oh yeah, there we go. There's a little S&P pop. Nvidia came back down, tested that pre-market high again, starting to bounce. Come on, AV go-go. AV got no go-go. AV no-no. Tesla putting new highs.
Order partially filled. Order filled.
SpaceX staying a little bit weaker. Netflix staying a little weaker. I mean, this is getting painful. As in watching paint dry painful. Apple's getting a little aggressive. Some of the chips starting to roll over now. SMH is, AMD is. Yeah, correct, Abosh. Toss does not have Schwab does not have a trading integration with TradingView. Toss has just had some little laggy chart issues lately. And then I like a couple of the features on TradingView a little bit better, so just started using them. NASDAQ is just kind of consolidating, hasn't been able to put in new highs like the S&P. Scooby, you still riding Tesla? It's staying pretty strong. Not too much pullback. Nothing's got a whole lot of momentum, but MU starting to pop back up. AV Go-Go putting in a nice, juicy flag if it could ever break. NASDAQ ticked a new high and then immediately dipped. S&P, a little bit of a dip now. So let's see, market's been open for an hour now. Been in this for about a half hour. Gonna need to see a little something here. All right. I've got my order ready to cut here. This is going to be on the upper end of my max loss that I want to take if I have to cut here. S&P pulling back. Apple still at highs. Tesla, a little pullback. All right, I'm going to cut. Not happening in NavigationTrading. Not happening. I would keep an eye on it in case it does start to get some momentum to the upside, but got to cut to manage risk here. All right, all. I'm going to wrap the stream. If I see something I like, I'll post in the trade channel. But pretty slow overall. I mean, obviously AMD had a nice run, but not really an entry. Tesla had a nice run that would have been a good trade off pre-market high. Apple, you would have had to sit through some chop. Nice trade off of previous day high, but also a lot of chop. So, all right, all. Have a good rest of your day. We will see you in Power Hour.